welcome everybody. It's great to see you all here. Thank you for coming and congratulations on the nominations. It's very exciting. Cheers to you all.
Cheers.
We've got Bob's Burger, Elliot from Earth, Arcane, Invincible, Flea, Luca, Ron's Gone Wrong, and the Mitchells versus the Machines. So it's very exciting to have you all here. I'm a fellow animation editor too. So this Claudia is joining me, helping me this evening to talk to you all. So we're just going to keep it cool and casual and no big interviews or questions, just a little congrats and a small mini Zoom party. I think we want to keep it, we won't keep you too long because I know you're all super busy, but yeah, we can just start off with who'd like to start first and introduce themselves and talk a little bit about their show. Let's say, Jeremy, do you want to kick it off?
Sure. My name is Jeremy Reuben. I'm working on Bob's Burgers, Fox sitcom. So it's on season 12, so it's been going for a very long time, and I'm very lucky to be a part of it.
It's brilliant. Yeah, I love Bob's Burger. How about Catherine?
I'm Catherine Apple. I'm one of the editors on Luca at Pixar. It was
Awesome.
a really great movie to work on. It was really fun. And to be honest, like, you know, we all of us were working from home. So it was one of those movies where you got to go away to another country for a while and cut. And then, but it was just also just a really fun movie.
That's awesome. Sim?
Yeah, well, actually, Dave should really talk about Wrong's Gone Wrong because it was he was on it for the full stretch, and I sort of just joined in the finishing straight to help out. So,
okay, I'm just going along my windows here. So whoever wants to talk next is totally fine.
I guess, yeah, I'm Dave, and well, together with Sim, I think he's being very modest. You were both editors on Wrong's Gone Wrong, which seems like a long time ago. But it was great. Very happy and delighted to be honored in this amazing group of people. Really great stuff you guys are making. So yeah, thanks for having us.
Good to have you. Richard?
Hello, yes, I'm Richard. I worked on a TV show called Elliot from Earth, which was a Cartoon Network show. Just 16 episodes, about 100 years ago, it feels like.
Greg?
I'm Greg Levitan, editor at Mitchell's versus the Machines from Sony and Sony ImageWorks, released by Netflix. Was such a fun, heartfelt ride and joy to work on this movie. And again, yeah, it was a while since it got pushed and released, and we all worked through the COVID and to get our productions done. But happy that it had its success it did, and it was a great time.
Awesome. Matthew?
Hi everybody, I'm Matt. I was one of the editors on Invincible on Amazon Prime, which also felt like ages ago, as everyone has said. But yeah, thanks for having me around and having me be a part of this.
Thanks for coming. How about, who's next? Jason?
Hi, I'm Jason Hudak. I don't know if Catherine already spoke. She and I worked together.
Said you were on your way.
Oh yeah, sorry for my tardiness.
That's okay.
I see David Salter there.
Hey Jason, long time.
I'm sorry. I'm realizing as I'm speaking here. Yeah, it's a pleasure to join you guys, and really honored to be part of this group and some great films this year. And yeah, thanks for hosting.
Thanks for coming. How about David Stilter then?
Well, I did the pilot for Arcane way back a long time ago. It was actually through a Pixar connection. Ash Brannon, who was one of the co-directors on Toy Story 2, invited me on board, and it wasn't even clear it was going to be for TV or what it was. It was kind of a lark. Other folks, I think they may not be with us. They did the rest of the shows over in Fortiche in France. So it was a bit of I'd almost forgotten I'd done it when it appeared on Netflix. But, so thanks for having us.
It's a lot of very excited people about that show.
Yeah, it was gratifying to see the response. I mean, it was fun, because it'd been so long. It was like watching something I hadn't even worked on.
Oh wow, that's awesome. Okay, let's ask Greg, how did you get started on Mitchells versus the Machines? I really enjoyed that movie. It was awesome.
Oh, awesome. It's so fun.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I've been in this business for a while now, but mostly in television animation. I was working at Disney TVA, all in development, doing pilots on a show called Amphibiland, which the director worked with Mike Rionda, who directed the Mitchells, and we had an executive, Mike Moon, who left Disney to go over to Sony to bring in new content and original content, and that's kind of how I was able to move over to the glorious feature side of things, which is fun. We all edit animation, TV or feature. The pipelines are different, but the editing style it's the same, and it's just so much fun. And that's how I came aboard.
Awesome. Did you find a big change from the TV series to movies?
Yeah, I mean, long form is definitely a different package.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's nice to have the time to do it. This movie, it took 4 years, but
wow.
that was a lot of changes. We also had Chris Miller and Phil Lord join in. That helped guide us a lot through the way. For me, the changes were mostly just the pipeline of things, which I enjoyed a lot. We got to try so many different things, so many screenings.
Yeah.
And it was fantastic. But yeah, I had a good time.
Was there a big team of editors in the movie?
I had myself, 3 associates, 2 assistants. We started the first year with just myself and 1 assistant, which we were able to put up a full movie in about 6 months for the studio. A lot changed from that screening, but it really kickstarted what it came through. The jokes were always there, too many, as a matter of fact. It
Really?
was easy to pull out. The relationships are what needed a lot of work. We had versions of Katie hating the family, and then we had versions of Rick hating the daughter. So we had to come up, get back into it and really focus on connection with each character and the relationships. But yeah, after the first screening, after 6 months, that's when we had a little break, and then things kind of came together. We got the green light, and then we started hiring more people. But yeah, it was a strong team of that.
Wow. Did a lot of changes happen after fresh eyes after the 6-month break again?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, coming from the top of the studio, it's a family road trip movie. So how do you sell that? How do you really showcase something that is going to market on that side? And so we really had to dive in and redo a lot. So a lot of things changed. And Phil and Chris came aboard, like I said, and kind of gave their experience and helped shape a guide away that made that work. But yeah, it was we all go through these constant screenings and notes, and it's nice to have experienced executive producers that help guide the way. That was a big help for Mike to see his vision go through. Yeah.
Awesome. Was any of your road trip stories from your childhood in the movie itself?
No, not mine. But mostly all Mike, and Jeff. We all got to play on that idea, which was really fun.
Yeah.
That was a great thing about Mike being a first-time director. My first time editing a feature. A lot of the art directing, the head of story, a lot of people the first time we all got to collaborate and all along the way, which was very open, and it that was a real joy to be a part of. But no, I mean, there was little sprinkles of everyone's stories here and there, and we kind of worked on that. So yeah,
that's exciting. Goals. Who else do we have? Let's see. Bob's Burger. I love Bob's Burger. Tell me, what's the process there? TV series. Were you involved big time in all of season 12?
Yeah, I'm from. I'm sorry.
You did all of season 12.
Yes, we only have one editor for the whole series, so
wow.
It's a lot of stuff going on. So yeah, I started right as we were entering lockdown. My first day was in April of 2020, so I still haven't been in the office yet or anything like that. But it's been great. We've done like 2 full seasons like this, and yeah, it's been awesome. Some of the episodes I think have been really strong, and it's been really fun to work on.
Yeah, I've watched them a few times. I'm quite a fan. It's really funny. What do you use to edit Bob's Burger?
We're just on Avid.
Yeah.
I'm all remote, so it's all RGSing in. So I have a 2004. I'm sorry?
Yes.
Yeah, a 2014 iMac, and it's using a PC in like an office on the other side of town and some of that, which I think is really funny. But yeah, it's all Avid. It's all, I know that we have to we get cuts from Pro Tools, we get, audio from every sort of, harmony and everything. But yeah, it's all put together in Avid.
Wow, that's awesome. And have you met the characters and stuff, the voice people?
I haven't been able to meet the actors in person yet, just because I haven't been in the office, but hopefully soon. I mean, I met some of them from other projects. So like I met John Benjamin before and stuff like that, but not working there.
Oh, it's a great show. And is there a season 13?
There will be, yeah. We've already started the season premiere of next season. So.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah. Is that like something that you'd like to work on long term, or do you think you'd ever get bored of Bob's Burgers?
I can't imagine being bored. Yeah. It's so busy all the time. You know what I mean? I feel like since we're never stopping, there's no time to be bored. We'll see what happens. They've been doing it for 12 years and no one seems bored yet. So I could see myself doing it for quite a while.
That's good. That's cool.
Can I ask, on Bob's Burger, after so many years, obviously, I don't know if the Easter egg at the beginning of the shop and the van, who comes up with those every single time? How do they keep coming?
Yeah, it's the writer's responsibility. So usually they have to be reminded, because it's not something that comes up in the script or anything like that. But usually when we're in the lock, someone reminds them that they have to submit ideas for the rat van and the storefront. So yeah, and every time I know that there's a list of, because I keep pitching things that have already been done. There's 200 or something rat vans at this point, so it's easy to come up with an idea that's extremely similar to something that someone already pitched. So there's a master list and they have to get it approved. But yeah, it's every writer has to come up with it for their episode.
It's brilliant.
It's awesome. It's so good. Anyone, any more questions for Bob's Burgers? I'll go to, let's see, Ron's Gone Wrong. Sim. So what's the editing process like there? How are you finding it?
Sim, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had to switch computers, which is why I've gone back to Sim, not something else. It was brilliant. It was a very collaborative environment. there were a lot of storyboard artists. That was quite. I'd come from Aardman, and so it was just a bigger team across the board there, because there was Dave leading and myself and James and Prac. I mean, there were 3 associates when I was on it, just for the tail end, and quite a few assistants. So it was a really big team, and loads of story artists spread around the world. But 2 weeks after I started, we went into lockdown. So it was off home.
Yeah, it's funny. It's everyone's kind of saying that. Well, I did most of it from home. Did you enjoy the process of doing it from home, or did you miss the office?
No, well, it was weird because I was expecting to be with a big crew and in person, and then suddenly be on my own in the countryside. But I mean, honestly, I was very lucky. People had a lot worse lockdowns than that. It was great. And there were actually things that we've carried with us. We're now sort of half and half, and there was lots of stuff that we did, Dave. Like, remember, like those sort of really rigid and disciplined about having morning production meetings, so you always knew what was happening. That was really positive. And we also started doing a thing so the assistants would be in all the editorial meetings, so there was much less catching people up. So you kind of had this sort of momentum sort of creatively, which was really good.
Yeah, that's right. There was like, because the assistants were often like talking about how much they wanted to be in the room, you know, like while we were cutting, which is often not very practical, just for all kinds of reasons. And some people aren't very comfortable, but having them in a Zoom room is perfect. They could just sort of be there, and you're still seeing, you know, you're still seeing the work, and you're still seing the dynamic between the editor and the director. So that did work really well. Are you still doing that now, Sim, in your show?
And we even had a conversation about it today, because we've had a couple of meetings this week where we couldn't do that because I was struggling to share the picture, and we were like, oh, I missed this. I don't want to go back to having to go next door to tell people what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I love having them there. And like, I mean, you know, Luke, I love having him up to speed with where the cut's at, and he's heard all the debates and he's heard all the questions. And so there's not that sort of, you know, very often he'll have done the thing I need him to do before we've finished, but also that you're not having to have those sort of catch-up conversations about, well, we've decided to do this and this, and it's great. So I want to keep that going as long as I can.
Nice. So David, were you working from home as well? And did you have Zoom chats?
Yeah, I was. I came from Australia to do Ron's Gone Wrong because I was living there on like the Lego movie. So Greg, you know, Chris and Phil, and I know what it's like to work. I know what it's like to work for them and to take their notes. They're sort of insane, but they're amazing. So I was there, and I got a call to come over to London to do Ron, and it was like, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm not Australian or English. I'm Irish, so I just thought I'll be
You're from my neck of the woods.
I'm from Dublin. Yeah, where are you from, Bev?
I'm from County Kerry, down the very bottom, southwest.
Very nice. Yeah, so it was very attractive to come over here and spend some time, you know.
You're at home, yeah.
I was close to home, yeah. I was really close to home, and you know, just being. Locksmith was a startup company which had just sort of attracted people from all over the world, a lot of Pixar people, DreamWorks people, a lot of European talent, some amazing French, particularly French animators and storyboard artists. You know, the French tradition of animation is so amazing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was really great to sort of set up a company and just, you know, go for it and try and make what I think, Sim, you know more than, it's the second or the third fully CG feature in this country, right? Or am I totally wrong about that? It's one of there haven't been too many.
But I think it's the second, isn't it? Because there was just
It might be, yeah.
It Tales of Desperate, the frame still thing, and then there was Ron.
Yeah, and I like it. Obviously, you got stop motion, which you got a lot of experience on doing with Aardman. But this was like a fairly new thing. So we're really glad it came together.
That's awesome. Is it a big company, Locksmith? You've got a big crowd there.
I mean, obviously it expanded for the movie. DNEG did the main animation, but now Sim is doing Locksmith's second feature. That's been announced, right? We can say what that is. Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't write it in my blurb.
You didn't say it.
Sim is
Well,
working
tell us now.
super top secret movie. I think it's on the internet, man. I think you should look. Anyway,
Okay. I need to look at that internet.
Sim is working on the second Locksmith animated film, so it's ramping up. It's ramping up again, yeah.
Yeah.
And what are you working on, David?
Well, I'm working with Tiffany, who's in the middle of my screen, on a super top secret movie in France.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm helping Tiffany. She's amazing. It's yeah, we're having a good time.
That's awesome. How about, let's see, Richard, I see you there. How's Elliot from Earth? Are you going to do a season 2?
No.
No.
No, it's not. It's not. It was 16 episodes and it ended on a very bleak cliffhanger. So it's going to be one of those ones that's unresolved.
Oh no.
So I don't think there's another season, as far as I know.
I didn't see the cliffhanger, but I've seen a few of them. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, we had a great time on it, actually. It was really it was a sci-fi show, which we hadn't quite done before. So it's quite tricky.
There was a lot of characters.
Yeah, and it wasn't really sorted out at script particularly. So there was a lot of writing in edit.
Oh, really? How did you find that?
Luckily, I edited the ones with script, so I got off quite lightly. But Tony, who's not here, he and the director spent a lot of time with post-it notes just coming up from scratch with a lot of the episodes, because they had to build the whole backstory for all the characters, and say if it was sci-fi, it was fairly limitless. The options
go anywhere.
But they got some great episodes out of that process. It just took a long time. That's why there are only 16.
Oh,
but they're 16 good
what
ones.
Was it on? Cartoon Network, was
Cartoon
it?
Network, yes. We'd all
nice.
just finished on The Amazing World of Gumball and rolled straight into this one, you see.
Oh, I see.
So,
and did you do Dead Endy as well?
I did the first 4, I think.
Yeah, because I was there on doing Dead Endy as well with you, I think.
That's right. Yeah, we overlapped a bit. That's a complicated show, isn't it? They were 20 minutes long, and it was.
It's still going. I left them at it. That's another one that was that script being rewritten. Do you find that a lot with a lot of your projects?
Yeah. Certainly on first seasons.
Yeah.
Because nobody quite knows who the characters are or anything. So everything, all the variables are changing at once. Well, you all know what that is, but yeah. So it's nice when you get to a season 3 or 4, but we didn't on this one, unfortunately. But
yeah, we win some, we lose some, I suppose. Yeah. How about the next gig? Can you tell us what that is?
Yeah, well, there's a feature. Do you know Lupus Films, who do things like they did Ethel and Ernest and
oh yes,
Snowman and all those hand-drawn things.
Yeah.
I'm cutting their latest feature, which is a Michael Mopergo story called Kensuke's Kingdom.
Oh, awesome.
They're over halfway through animating that, all hand-drawn, done in Islington.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I know their office. Very nice.
So that's an 80-minute one. I don't know where it's going to be yet, a stream or a theatrical.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool.
So that's quite a different pace.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. Do you have a lot more time on that one?
It's just nice that people can speak a little more slowly or not speak at all after doing the Cartoon Network 11 minutes, which are
or giving them some air when they say finish their sentence.
I'm trying not to, I'm panicking, like, oh, nothing's really happened for a moment. That's that loud, but we found the pace on it. It's looking really good. So.
Oh, nice. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Who else do I have here in front of me? Invincible, Matthew, do you want to tell us about your process and how's that going?
Sure. It wrapped a while ago, but I came in halfway through the show. Scott, who should be here, I don't know if he is or not. Scott had to move off of the show, and I moved into his role and finished up the show and delivered it. It was a big project. There were so many moving parts happening all the time, lots of different little storylines and pieces to meld together. A lot of the heavy handling on the pacing side and the stories had already been done, but we did have to go back and reboard a few of the big sequences because they weren't really working once we got animation back from our vendors. But once we got that, it was just really nailing down like the speed of some of the fights and getting some of the fight scenes just like more amped up and like keep sending it back to animation like need more blood, more action, more hard hitting, this and that and whatnot. So there were a lot of times the biggest note was more blood,
Really?
more blood. Yeah. I think our animation studios were a little hesitant to do that because I don't think they understood the scope of the world and how much it's not Marvel and it's not your normal superhero show.
Yeah, and you can get away with a bit more on Netflix, can you?
On Prime, yeah, you definitely could.
Was it Prime? Sorry.
It was on Prime, yeah. Yeah, it was the first show that I worked on where it was like that, where you just kept like, this needs to be more grandiose than it actually is. And then the second show I worked on after that, it was no problem. Just keep throwing more blood in there, see what happens. So
as long as you don't go to a preschool one next, you're all right.
Oh yeah, it's in. Yeah, I moved on to a teen show after that, and it was a bit of a culture shock, but it was also nice to like resensitize myself instead of being so desensitized to it. Because sometimes those things do kind of get ingrained in the back of your head a little too much.
Does that tell a bit more about you than the show?
No comment. I don't know. Maybe.
What's the teenage show you're working on now?
Oh, that was I'm actually on my third show post Invincible. Right. The show that I was on, first show I was on after Invincible hasn't been announced yet, so I can't tell anybody.
That's fine.
And then I moved on to The Boys Diabolical, which is a short anthology series that just came out on Prime like a month ago. That was fun. It was a lot of like really fast, short, very intense schedules to get very fast, short, intense shorts out. As a 3 month turnaround to get 8 shorts delivered.
Oh, okay.
And then now I'm on to Bird Girl, which is on Adult Swim.
Oh, cool. So that's another adult kind of one.
Yeah. I found my niche finally.
That sounds it.
After doing so much like little kids and preschool stuff. So
yeah, well, we all have to start somewhere.
Yeah, exactly.
That's cool. And is Scott here? He's not here? No.
I don't know. I haven't seen him.
He was going to try and make, but maybe he's working hard on something else.
Most likely, yeah. It's 11. It's noon here on the West Coast.
Oh, right.
Of North America, so we're like right in the middle of everything.
Oh, so you can't join us with the glass of wine. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I could. No one would know. I'm working from home. It's fine.
Oh, that's true. Still working from home. Are you enjoying that?
I am. Yeah. The studios I've been with have been very receptive to everybody continuing to work from home if they wanted to. Yeah. So it's split 50-50. I've been in the office a couple of days over the past couple of months, and it's been fine. I feel more at home because everything's set up here.
Yeah, of course. That's cool.
Yeah.
All right. Should I go to Catherine and Jason about Luca? Do you want to tell us how the process was and how you got on? Who's going to start?
Catherine, you want to start it?
Well, why don't you start it?
Yeah, Luca was it's a funny one because it crosses over from I think about it in terms of like it's probably like one of the last normal Pixar shows in the old building. We went into COVID and after 2 or 3 years in production. So back on 2017, 18, early 18 is when I started.
You started on Luca in 2018.
Yeah. Well, actually before that, yeah. And yeah, we're only now sort of going back into the studio in large groups. So it's a new world in there, and we're going to see how that the edit staff at the studios has seen a lot of changes in the last couple of years. So it'll be an interesting one. But yeah, Luca was it was an adventure, and at Pixar it's editorial, and I hear a lot of this in the other anecdotal stuff so far as at Pixar edited is a large part of the storytelling process and the writing process. So was really rewarding to see it sort of the arc of the story.
Yeah.
Over that period. It's not new to anybody, I'm sure, here, especially David. I see you, David, and that Nemo poster behind you. David and I worked together on Nemo back in the day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a fun and rewarding show, and ultimately, turned out to be a entertaining and I think, heartfelt, emotional story, which is always what you hope for, right?
A big hit, yeah.
Yeah, Catherine, what about you?
Yeah, same thing. The working from home is crazy. And we do have bigger teams, I think, at Pixar. So it was pretty crazy, to get everybody on Zoom calls and talk. Sometimes the Zoom calls would look like this.
Really?
But well, not quite, but sometimes it seemed that way. But the thing, someone was talking earlier about the assistants being in the room. Sim, you were, and that was something that was really a plus for us also too. They really loved being there in the room. It got them to see more of what we do. It helped the communication role, especially when everybody's at home and not in the same place. And I'm trying to figure out how to keep that going if you're not on Zoom, because it was really great and they loved it. Also too, sometimes when you're cutting and let's say they don't like something or a sound effect, or sometimes the assistants will just go get it for me and they go, it's in the bin. So that was great also. So
nice.
Really
how did you do that with them on Zoom? Was it them just like this and you shared your screen, was it?
Yeah, there was different setups. We used what ended up using the best was the NDI, and then there would be the screen up, and then you just turn off your sound on your computer. Like sometimes I'd have to go back and forth and like work on some things and turn off the sound so they couldn't hear it because there was a sync problem. But yeah, and then like I said, so assistants could just be there listening in. They needed to be there to make sure we kept up running, but then they were also there to see what was going on. So that was great.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know Claudia has questions about assistant editors, don't you?
Yeah, they will come. Yeah, after everybody's introduction.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you're going to try implement that going forward?
Well, I'll see how we can work it, because we're not going to be in Zoom in fact, today is my first day back in the office. I'll probably be a hybrid right now, but I don't know how to do it yet. I don't know, like maybe we could even keep a Zoom going in the room. I don't know, because when everybody does come in the room, it's pretty packed. So
yeah,
try to figure it out. But so just Sim, are you just doing it from home? Are you still doing Zoom, or are you doing in the office, or?
Well, I mean, I've started being back in the office more now, but what's happening at first, I was back in the office, but my assistants are at home, and so we run the Avid, and then I share the computer, I share a window, and they can watch from home. But then that didn't work today because I was with the director and I needed to go full screen, and you can't do that if you're showing a picture. So I need to find a way of doing that. But I mean, because the great thing is, whether my assistant's 2 doors down or at home, it's exactly the same to me. Because if I need to find something, they just find it and put it on my machine. And so I mean, Dave will know this guy Luke here, he's got a really long commute. So why put someone through that commute if they can actually be, up and running at 9 o'clock and work late without any stress? And it just seems to make sense. Obviously up to them. If they want to come in, they can come in. But yeah, I think it's sort of it's reduced some of those sort of pressure points of stress, especially in London, where it's all about sort of 2-hour-long commutes.
Yeah.
Are you back in the office full-time, Sim? No?
Well, it's starting to feel a little bit like it. I mean, the company policy is they by the end of the month, they want people to be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I did a stint, I've done a couple of screenings, and I've done a sort of like 2 or 3 weeks in the office full time, but with the assistants at home, just because the way we're sharing stuff, we're pushing media backwards and forwards, and it's just easier for me to have, and then they remote in, it's just easier for me to have like the master project, and they pull stuff in and out when they need it.
That's awesome. Are you back full-time, Catherine?
No, we're starting to come in, and so I'll come in a few days a week. And I think they're hoping by the middle of summer we'll
Yeah.
Back. So to be honest, I'm one of those people that I kind of just needed to come in. I've had it working at home, so I'll come in probably like 3 days a week right now.
Nice. So who I've got, Arcane, David. You've got, I think it's just you and your own. Where's the rest of your gang? You've got no backup there. You've got to tell us everything.
No idea. I mean, to be honest, I've never met those fellas. You know, because as I said, I mainly they brought me on to do the pilot.
Oh, that's
and
right.
Then,
yes.
And we were working with this animation studio in I was at Riot Games in LA, and we were working with an animation studio in France. And my understanding, and we did do a number of, I mean, we had some folks cutting ahead, and I assisted a little bit, pitched in on a few of the upcoming episodes, but my understanding, that I just did the pilot mainly and moved on to back to features. But my understanding is then they moved the production basically completely to France, which makes sense. It was probably a lot more straightforward, but it was for that. Here's Gilad, so he can speak to that. Hello, Gilad. We're meeting for the first time, but in that, I'm talking about the pilot now, Gilad. It was a unique situation in a way, but they always are. Where it was, it was a game company, Riot Games, and they didn't have any production experience except for doing kind of cinematics for their games and some music videos and things. So that was, it's always a learning experience, right?
Yeah.
So it was very interesting, but I really, we had no idea even what was going to happen with the show. It was, when was that? 5 years ago.
Oh wow.
Anyway, Gilad can speak to the rest of the production.
Hi Gilad, welcome and congratulations. Nice to have you on board.
Yes, hi. I'm sorry about the time. I actually connected at 7:30 our time, and then I said, so it's GMT, so I'm like, oh, so it's 9:30 my time, but I guess it was 8:30. I mixed up the hours.
I'm not sure what it was, but
sorry about that. So I think
but
I think I missed all the interesting part for me because this was the part I didn't know about.
Oh no. Well, we're recording it, so we'll send everybody a link so they can have a look back. But we were just discussing about everyone's show, and first of all, what was your show about and how did it come about? And congratulations. If you want to tell us a little bit about yourself and the show, we'd be delighted to listen.
Sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me. I hope Nazim will join shortly because I think he probably also got the time wrong. I'm from Israel. I studied film in France and a bit in the States, and I directed some short films. I'm doing some writing, and most of the editing I've done was in animation. So I worked in illumination, McGuff, for maybe about 10 years. So worked on like 5-6 features, like Despicable Me 1, 2, and 3, and The Grinch, a few others. And I started, and after Despicable Me, I wanted to do something a bit, maybe a bit less mainstream. I want to do some writing also. I did some writing workshops, and that's where I came about to join Fortiche during Arcane. Now, at the time, they had finished the pilot, and we're about to move on to the and then the pilot was recut a bit, and it was about to move on for the rest of the season after a lot of rewrites. I think there was 1 or 2 years of rewrites for the first season. I'm not completely sure, but yeah, as I've heard he said, this was a few years ago, and they worked on a pilot for about 4 years. I think the pilot took 3 or 4 years in total, and when I came about, they told me that the show is not your typical animation show because it's quite psychological, with psychological depth, and even the way it's directing is quite influenced by live action. We have a lot of quick shots and moving camera. It's very different from from Illumination where I was before, or maybe some Disney movies. It's just different kind of style. So I was quite excited about it. And also I was excited because it was a new show. And for Tish and Riot, this was, as David said, was like their first major, narrative show. So, I mean, for Riot was first at all in animation, and for Tish mostly did shorter music videos and commercials, like really good ones. But it's the first time for really such an ambitious show. So what was great, this was, as David said, the time when they moved the editorial from the States to France, which kind of made sense for the directors. They kind of felt, they kind of felt that it was easy for them to work with people, on the spot and without the time differences and whatnot. So that's when they brought me on, and I had some American experience from Illumination. So this kind of reassured also the right people. We're getting an editor here, but in France, but he knows a bit. He worked on some bigger American shows. Not that I actually think it's that important in that sense, but okay. And what was interesting in this one was that on the one hand, it was obviously aiming to be a big show, wanting to be seen by many people, and we didn't know where it's going to be broadcasted. That they only decided that after we finished the first season. Actually, Netflix only bought it, bought the rights after we finished the first season. So Riot financed everything. So basically, there was carte blanche. Riot basically gave carte blanche to the showrunners, Christian Linke and Alex Yee, and they really trusted the directors at Fortiche. So it was really good relationship that they've had already for a few years. So as an editor, they said, you have experience, etc., but we want also to experiment, and we want to experiment different kinds of storytellings and to be open to influences from live action. So we want someone who's willing to go and experiment all kind of things, which was really cool. So it's, as an editor, this is something that you want directors to ask you to experiment, and not just tell you, okay, this is how it has to be because this is how the network decided, etc. There was no network. It was just Riot. Riot again, it was their first animation show. They didn't have the showrunners and the storytellers and the screenwriters, they had vision of where they want to go, but there was a lot of open fields for experimentation about how actually it's going to look like, etc. I mean, okay, the look they kind of figured out in the pilot, but as to where the season is going to go and how it's going to feel and how each episode is going to feel, it was quite open. And as an editor, they really, we have a really good relationship with the directors, and we see them every day, and we actually give a lot of input. Too bad Nazim is not here. Hopefully he's going to join, but it's really interesting. I think it's one of the shows, definitely that in this scale that I've been on, that you as an editor, they expect you to you can actually change quite a lot. Sometimes we would even say, oh, we'll need to change the dialogue and etc. and and it's not always the case on big scale productions. Sometimes it is, but not always. So
that's
nice.
Yeah.
So this was really cool. And so I was brought in. I cut episode number 2, and then we found Nazim and Roberto, which was already working for Tish. He was assistant editor before. And what we did, we just dispatched the episodes between themselves. Like each editor had a few episodes in the series, and that worked out quite well. Obviously, we watched the episodes of the other editors, and we tried to come up with try to make sense of the entire season, The Arcane is often built in trilogies. So the first 3 episodes are a trilogy, and this is why they were also shown broadcast. They came out rather in the same day, the first 3 episodes, and then after the next 3 episodes, and then the last 3 episodes, because they're sort of built as a trilogy.
Did you all get 3 each, or did you get 1 of each group?
We got 3 each, except the pilot, which was already done. So I think when Nazim came in, he did 2 in the first season. So yeah, on the first episode, after the pilot was finished, there was some small tinkering with the script because of the rest of the season. So we did go back and change a few things, but not that much. Like, you know, there's a lot of names for editors who worked on it, but we didn't do, you know, most of the work were done before by David and a few other people that unfortunately we never met, because when we were brought on, they were not there anymore. So yeah, it's really quite a big saga, I would say, because I think from the moment they started writing the pilot and talking about it until it came out in Netflix, I think it's probably around 7 years. I'm not completely sure.
That's amazing.
I think so. Hopefully the second season is not going to take as long.
Yeah. Well, you've got a lot of fans, so it shouldn't take that long, please.
Yeah, no, we're a little bit under pressure. We're quite a lot under pressure.
Are you Team V or Team Jinx?
Sorry, what do you say?
Are you Team V or Team Jinx?
Oh, I don't take sides. I don't take sides. Some episodes, you know, often a lot of the episodes are they're not completely character based, but you have like a dominant. Like if you look at the first season, often the sequence before the titles, you'll have a flashback of one of the characters, except the first one, because it's a pilot. So often the thematically, this episode will be more following this character. Supposedly, it didn't exactly always work out like this. So definitely, definitely some episodes are a bit more Vi or a bit more Jinx or a bit more Caitlyn. Echo had an episode. It's not exactly complete their episode, but it kind of gives you the feeling. But I don't, you know, I like all my babies, so. Yeah, so they're not exactly my babies. I'm like a caretaker, you know.
Yeah.
Children, you can't choose a child, is it?
Yes, you know, and it's, you know, 7 years. That's a long time. I didn't take care of that child for 7 years, but you know, the people who have worked on it for 7 years, you know, like the writers and the directors, it's like that's a really long time. You know, so yeah, I don't think it was 7 years completely. You know, there was time they were stopping to rewrite. I know after they finished the pilot, everybody loved it, but then they went and wrote this first season or part of it, and then they rewrote it. They stopped because it's the first project Riot is actually writing. I mean, they had some writers obviously they brought in, but you know, so and second, it's very ambitious series. And I think also, I think at the beginning they didn't. I'm not sure if everybody in Riot above the, you know, the high people in Riot, everybody was sure how big it's going to be. So I'm not sure how much, you know, big they saw it budget wise, and you know, and I don't know that much about budget, but I think at some point when they saw the pilot and they showed it to some people said, wow, this is amazing, this is going to be a huge show. And then it said, oh wait, so we have to rewrite it to make it bigger, like to actually put everything we want to put inside, like everyone, Christian and Alex wanted to put inside. And obviously they went and they came up with these scripts. They were like so long. Like, you know, they wanted to put so much stuff in it because they have so much ideas and they have so much inspiration from League of Legends and so then the scripts were really ambitious, and we're only allowed to do 35 minutes of production time. So there was some work on cutting them down and adapting, etc. Yeah, so this all took some time, and some of it was still taking place when we were on. You know, we were still adapting, we were still, changing. Sometimes as editors of taking out some sequences, merging some sequences, playing with the structure, all the cool stuff you get to do as an editor.
Yeah.
What else? Yeah, the working on the music is really cool on this show because the directors are my age and we like the same music. So because as editors we do temp music in animation, not on animation obviously, but it's and in Arcane it's very important because I don't know if you know, but Christian Linke, who basically is the man who's behind Arcane, he's a musician. Christian is he was the head of music of Riot for several years, and he's a very young guy. He's like a wonder child, and he came up with the whole idea. I mean, one of the people who came up with this, but he's like the showrunner who's been on from the beginning. And so working with music, and obviously they have very, very talented musicians working on the final version. But for us as editors, with the directors, we always try to find temp score, which is really captivating the moment, and also some songs, because there's some songs written specifically for the show. Each episode actually has at least one song, and sometimes even two, who are specifically written for the show and performed by some known artists, sometimes like Imagine Dragons or Sting or
Wow.
some really cool artists. So as an editor with the directors, one of our favorite parts is choosing the music. So which is temp. It's going to be redone. They're going to do actual music, but it's really guiding a lot of the soundtrack, which is the final soundtrack.
Nice.
Which is really cool. Another cool thing is obviously the sound design. So again, we're not doing the final sound design, but we do the temp sound design. So and this is something we often give to the assistants. This is one of the cool things to be an assistant on this show, which is also something as an assistant, when I started as assistant in animation, was really cool, is to build a soundtrack, just not soundtrack, but the sound design, the temp sound, which is really cool because in animation, I don't know if everybody here is from animation or not, but in animation there is no
we're all
direct
animation here.
Yeah.
You're in the animation category, mister.
yeah. Okay, so here it's only the friends. Yeah, so it's really cool, and Arcane, you have some really interesting sounds to find, like the magic, and you have the magic in Piltover, then you have the shimmer in Zon, and how will this sound? So obviously we have really talented people coming afterwards and doing the actual final sound. But sorry,
it's a big list of editors you have there. So lots of assistants as well. That's pretty cool. That's nice for assistants to get involved like that.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at the time. I know that some of you are in LA time, and across the board that we did say was an hour. So if anyone did need to run off, I can unmute everybody and we can ask questions and have more of a chat, but you're very welcome to stay and you're welcome to leave. Let me know if you're leaving so I can wave at you. And that's it.
Oh, Nazim just joined, I think.
Awesome.
As well.
Yeah. Hi.
Time difference confusion here.
It's a time difference confusion, yes.
Hello.
Hello, I'm the second editor. I'm not as fluent in English as Gilad. But,
did you hear Gilad?
Yep.
Did you hear Gilad chatting, Nazim?
Yeah.
Just a little bit at the end. Yeah.
All right.
I'm arrived just 5 minutes, something like that.
Well, let me say congratulations and welcome.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'm really glad to be there and with you and to share a little bit how we enjoy to do this show.
Awesome.
I don't know, you have some question or?
Yeah, we were going to just throw it out to everybody. Anyone want to ask a question? Do you want to unmute everybody, Claudia?
Yes, I mean, anybody that wants to unmute themselves.
Oh, I thought you had it locked. Okay, cool. Anyone want to ask questions? Go right ahead. We can chat amongst ourselves here.
Yeah, I was actually interested in your relationship with the assistants, because like I personally am an animation assistant editor of Beverly, so and like we heard Gilad and you, Nazim, and talk about how important the assistants are, and also Catherine that was saying how like working remotely actually affects this relationship. So I would be really curious to hear from other experiences about that, because in my little experience, usually nobody talks about animation assistant editors. Like it's always about live action. So, but the work is a bit different, I think. So yeah, if you want to share some experience, or I'd be glad to hear that.
Sure. I mean, the importance of assistants is just crazy. So I'm sure you know that, but we depend on them probably just as much or more as live action editors. I think like for me, like I like to work with the assistants that we're all one big team. And it sounds to me from like how everybody else is talking too. And we like to keep everybody informed and everybody's making the movie together. We also at Pixar, the assistants do a lot of sound effects cutting too. And that really, I think, helps them see how, you know, when you're cutting sound effects, you can really see how something's cut out. So it's really a huge learning experience for them. And I think most of it's like we always have stuff where we meet once a day and we kind of go over and we know where everybody is and what everybody's doing. And the assistants are just amazing. The assistants we had on Luca. They were so organized, and it was such a hard shift when they had to go over to COVID and to keep us running, and everybody works differently, but they just kept the show running. You know, we were recording people remotely, and but they just worked together as a team so well, and knew what was going on every second. Do you have any specific questions or?
Thank you.
Can I ask, so I've edited some animation myself, and I'm always curious to know from other shows and features, how much flexibility do you get to have, you know, from animatic, if you need, you know, the extra frame or the extra handle, because I always found to be pretty stuck on like no pressure, the animatic needs to be perfect type of thing. Because then asking for the extra frame is going to be like an apocalypse. So I'm always interested to know if, you know, higher budgets or low, like if the budget is obviously involved in that, or how you deal with that sort of process. Anyone, really?
Just speaking for the Cartoon Network 11-minute shows, I've never really asked another editor how much slack they give themselves. We used to cut it 5 seconds over for an 11-minute show.
Okay.
I have no idea if that's normal. That was how we did it.
Yeah. Well, that.
But I remember on Corpse Bride, which was a stop motion one, they had an 8-frame handle at the end of every shot.
Wow.
Which seemed a lot, but I think it was to get the continuous movement flow and stuff and give them some options. But I think that's quite generous.
In my experience, yes. Anyone else? Like even like, I don't know, Mitchell's in the Machine, I don't know, Greg, like sounds like that could be like features. Is that different for features?
Well, we had a good rapport with our layout team, always communicating, you know, back and forth on, you know, length and shots. Like, you know, they'd always give us the exact length of what we did in the border and the animatic, and then, you know, we would then take that and, you know, it's a different thing, a different media to look at. You know, we were so used to in television that boards were the gods of what it was, and in feature it's kind of for my experience anyway, it was a little different. The boards are the foundation, and the rest they take on from there. So we got to really play and manipulate with layout, and when it went into animation, when we got these shots back, we had a little bit time to also manipulate and change things. Not a lot, the further you get in the process. And we had Chris and Phil come on board, and like David was saying, he has experience with them. They don't really think about what the outcome will be. They just want to try again, and it was a real pleasure to have that. But we did get into a situation with budget where we have to really figure out what shots we can go back and fix. But for the most part, in the beginning, through the layout process, you're able to ask and change and get the shots the way you want it, and through the experience of the Mitchells. So it was really fun.
Nice. Sounds not too bad, not too painful.
Yeah, I'd echo that too. What Greg was saying. At Pixar, I guess quite a bit different. It's storyboards are sort of the guide, but there's a lot of cheats that happen in hand drawings, blocking wise and otherwise. So when they get into camera and layout, it's often just a reshoot, in certain instances. It's a roadmap, but also they deviate quite a bit at Pixar, at least. That's usually the rule. So you can't be too wedded to that original cut. You have to be sort of flexible and adaptable to ideas that percolate through the scout, or all the way through the shooting of stuff.
I will say there's a huge difference between features and TV, and in particular between 2D and CG, right? And that's kind of what Jason's referring to, and also the studios, right? So if you're had very little experience with 2D, it was only the one portions of this one SpongeBob film I did, but there's more of a one-to-one relationship between the story drawings and the final thing, because they're all, you're going from two dimensions to 2 dimensions, you're staying in 2 dimensions, and so and usually, and then it's super expensive, right? Because someone has to draw it. So that's a different beast. But in CG, you're kind of it's more like live act. It has more in common with live action in that sense. And then once you get to animation, so you can adjust the timing, right? But once it's animated, the goal is to kind of get the timing pretty much what it's going to be coming out of layout. Not at the drawing stage, not at the story stage. That would be maybe more in 2D, but in CG, once you come out of layout, as Jason said, adjust it for what the material is, and then you don't really want to be messing around too much. However, some studios like Pixar have a lot more built in to the budget and the process that allow, like handles, right? Whereas one of the shocks with going to some of the other studios was finding out that they don't allow for handles, or they allow for shorter and shorter handles. So the note being basically, you do want to get your timing close coming out of layout.
Yeah, exactly. It's still painful to change things in anim, that's for sure.
David, you are one of the few people in the world who left Pixar and didn't.
There's more of us now. I left originally. I got an offer from Jeffrey Katzenberg to come direct something over at DreamWorks, and I think that all of us I think that it's a great misreading of what cinema, what films are, including animation, that the directors are not in general taken from the ranks of the editors, because we're the ones. All of us clearly know the most about how to make a movie, but everything, right? Editorial is the one it's the one craft that you can't make a movie without. You could pretty much, I mean, unless it's a one or, you know, they can do single shot. That's, you know, the Academy denigrating those 8 categories, including editorials, still, you know, infuriating. But and Lee, you know, my good friend Lee at Pixar is one of the few who made that leap. But in general, it's not, you know, they prefer in animation, they prefer to take from story artists and animators. So I was, you know, I ran into the whole politics thing that, you know, who knows, nobody teaches you how to handle it. I could probably handle it better, if I had it to do over again. And I'm still trying, but yeah, that was what that was all about. But I will say that, you know, ever since then, I have, and also, you know, Pixar, especially when, you know, I was, I don't remember, when did you start, Jason? What?
That would have been August of 2000.
Okay, yes, I started January 2nd, 96, or like I was almost exactly employee number 200. And by the way, we've got a couple of lurkers here. Robert, hello, Robert and Nick. I see you, even though I can't see you. The from Pixar. So it was pretty tiny, and now it's like what 10 times that at least. But you know, it's a pyramid, so it gets, you know, it's like, you know, recently folks have, you know, there's been a bit of dislodging at the top of that pyramid, but you know, opportunity, you know, you kind of get to a certain point, and then it didn't look like they were going to have any other editors move up to directing. But the one thing that, you know, in terms of cutting other places, I will say that Pixar is definitely has the most respect for getting the story right, you know, first, and whatever it takes. And it has been a little bit, you know, a lot of the places I've gone, you know, they hire me because of past work. And then when I say, okay, well, this is how we do it, you know, this is you know, this is part of the process that led to doing good work, you know, say, oh, we don't do it that way. So, you know, you learn to keep your mouth shut.
That sounds familiar. That sounds familiar. Yeah, maybe, yeah, if I can jump in and say that, you know, after about changing during production, you know, I totally join what was said, what David said. When I worked in Illumination, we did storyboards, and sometimes our script was kind of rough, sometimes even very rough. Then we did storyboards, experimented a lot. Then it got validated, and then in layout, sometimes we changed everything, like really everything, like changed all the shots or a lot of the shots or a lot of just the whole concept sometimes of the sequence, not always, but often. And then after we locked layout, we were trying not to change too much in animation, but still it was floating around. Now, if I go totally to the other side, some French series I worked on, it was, even if it was 3D, still after you finish the animatic, you were not moving one frame. Like layout had to be exact same amount. Sometimes it was even outsourced to a different studio who was doing layout. That was not a very good experience. But then it has to be the exact frame, and then the animation was the exact frame, the number of frames. You would not add anything, and then at the end you can come and chop out some frames. Arcane is interesting because Arcane is a TV series, but it's an ambitious TV series. I will call it premium TV series. So you're kind of in the middle. I don't know exactly how it was for you, David, on the pilot. That's actually interesting. But and for us, the idea was to lock the storyboard animatic and then not to change. Like this was the idea at the beginning when I just came and said, no, we're going to do it like TV, like French. We're going to lock it to 3500 and nothing's going to change. And I'm like, and I saw the pilot and like, it's really ambitious. And I talked to directors and showrunners. Everybody was very ambitious to do really good work. And I was like, yeah, I think we're going to have to move things around, because sometimes you go to 3D often and you find that you need to do things a bit differently. And at the end, this is what's happening. We move to layout, we change somewhat, but really they tell us, try not to change too much, like try to get it right in the animatic. And I have to say the animatics in Arcane are very, very, very ambitious too. Like in the animatic, you have all the camera moves. Usually you have like shading, you have the focus pulls, you have most of the, quite a lot of the background already in the storyboards. Like they really try to, an interesting thing is in Fortiche, the storyboarders already make a pre-timed QuickTime, and not just JPEGs, which is the experience I had before working in this with the States. So then Cinematic is really very ambitious, and they try not to change too much, to already get to what they want in the storyboards, because we don't have the budget that Pixar or Disney or Illumination have. That having said, we still change somewhat, but it's interesting because it's kind of in the middle.
It does feel Arcane that it's just like a big long film in a way. I don't know in how it looks and how it's constructed. It does just feel like it's a big film chopped into bits. I don't know. It's just really. I would love to see the animatics of that actually.
Yeah. I don't know if one day maybe we can release that. I don't know at some point. They did.
Kudos to you guys. It was a pleasure to watch. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, thanks.
Really
That's
enjoyed
good to
it.
hear.
Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I loved it so much. Yeah.
Yeah, and I also was interested in what David said about moving to directing, because that's, he's not the first editor who says, guys, I can actually do the work of the director after some years of experience, because I think he's completely right. We're so involved in the storytelling and the structure, and also choosing shots and asking for new shots, deciding about shots sometimes, actually more than live action, which is really a good position to move to directing. And it's true that it's not always easy. I know in Illumination, one of my colleagues, Claire Dodgson, who was working with me for 5 or 6 or 7 features, now she managed to get a co-director position. And okay, I'm interested because I'm also want to move to directing. I'm writing and was wanting to direct, so I don't know if it will happen maybe in Fortiche, but it's an interesting question. And why cannot why is it always a storyboard artist? Because they actually draw the better directors, and it's not necessarily the case from experience. Some are great and they're amazing, and some don't exactly have the what it takes the global view to direct. But okay, that's a complicated question. There was a question about the original animatics. I don't know if this was answered.
Yes, we have no, if you all could answer. We have 2 questions. So if you added the original animatics, or that part is separated from layout and the other parts of the animation pipeline. So maybe if there are some editors that take care of the animatic and others that take care of other the following steps. And the other question is, considering that animation is not only a genre but another way to do filmmaking, are there genres that animation hasn't touched and that you think it should deal with?
Okay, I can quickly answer for myself, but I think our friends in Pixar will probably have maybe different experience. In my experience in the bigger, more ambitious storytelling projects, I think will probably be the same in Pixar. They know better than me, but definitely in Illumination and in Fortiche, we had 1 or 2 editors, sometimes 3, but usually 1 or 2, and they go from animatics to the layout, to the animation, to the compositing, going through with the sound, to the music, sometimes going to the mix, and really the caretaker of the show, really from the beginning to the end. That's why it's so long to do editing on these shows. And you really the watch guard that the show becomes what it's supposed to become, because other people sometimes lose track. When I worked on much smaller productions in TV, sometimes someone would come, I would just come and do animatics, then it would get sent somewhere, and then it would bring someone else to do final cut on animation. So that was kind of the smaller shows. But I think to really do good work or good storytelling, it's good to have same editor or editors all along. I think you guys will probably have similar experience.
I have definitely moved from like beginning tip to tail, so to say. Like I've been the animatic editor and the animation editor on the same show. So you can be the same across the board. And as you said, you can take it from all the various portions of the show and be the caretaker. And other times I've been just the animatic editor and then kicked off and then come back on another show as just the animation editor and then contracts end or whatever. So it's a bit of both worlds. You can do all of it if you wanted to, or if the contract asks for it. Yeah.
I think in features, it's usually the same editor takes it through the whole process. I know TV is a little different, but I don't know of any features that do it differently than that.
I remember when I worked on a TV show in France, they said sorry, you have to sorry, I lost what I wanted to say. Sorry, I lost it. Okay.
That's okay.
I keep my thought. Sorry. I try to repeat. Okay. Just a little time.
Okay. I think that our time's nearly up, but I'm happy to keep it going and don't want to keep you from your work. How's everybody feeling? Any more questions?
Yeah, if I could just sorry, the question's already been asked, but if I can just add to it.
Go for it.
Yeah, just the idea that if you accept that animation is not a genre per se, because animation can take in absolutely anything in the way that normal filmmaking can take in any subjects. Are there any genres or subjects that animation hasn't covered, given its extraordinary scope for storytelling in a very different way? And if you had the opportunity, what kind of a movie and what kind of a genre would you like to make in the animated form, which hasn't been done before? Anyone?
It's a good question, Alan.
A musical?
Yes.
No. That's a stupid answer. Yeah, there were tons made. There are tons made. There are tons made. But I think, yeah. I mean, obviously there were good musicals made, but I just worked on one movie that was a musical. It was the Lorax. I don't know if you remember that movie. And it's yeah. I mean you have I mean, when I say musical, obviously you have Disney movies with a lot of songs, not only Disney, but yeah, I was thinking more something like a rock opera, something like this that would be cool. Like some episodes in Arcane, someone we were talking about it. Oh yeah, maybe it would be good as just a total rock opera, space rock opera, something like this. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, cool. Horror animation, I've seen a lot in short films.
Right.
And okay, you have Coraline and this kind of horror, like kind of soft horror. I don't know, say like gothic horror. Yeah. We're not allowed to go dark. Yeah, exactly. Short films, you can do what you want. If it has to, you have to, have 100 million people coming to see it in all ages. Then it kind of sometimes limits you. And also often people would say, oh yeah, this is a really cool idea, but you cannot do it in animation. No, this is not. You don't do animation. You don't do a Western in animation. And because we were talking about this recently in Fortiche about some project. And it's like, no, you cannot. It's like, why cannot you do a Western in animation? But
Why couldn't you?
There was one. There was one last
Yeah, I
year.
know.
I think,
Yeah.
What is it called?
Yeah, I know.
But Flea is a great example. You know,
Yeah.
I was sorry it didn't win the documentary. You know, on Sunday, but you know,
Yeah.
there's a great example. So you know, I think yeah, animation is not a genre. Although we have to keep in mind that for better or worse, at least in the States, because it is so phenomenally expensive, insanely expensive. I mean, these are, you know, big Hollywood animated film is the most expensive film of the year, right? It's like 100% effects spectacle, right? Like a Marvel film, but only 100%. So because of that, it has to have the potential for earning as much as possible, or it won't make, you know, it won't break even or make money. And that means all ages, you know, that means that it can't exclude too many people from the audience. So it has to be for all ages. So that does limit the subject matter. But for an independent film, it's a different story.
True.
Thank you.
Well, in fact, if you looked at some of the films that were up for awards this past independent animated films, there actually were a number of genres, science fiction and a lot of adult things. But the flip side of that is they're not seen. So they do get made actually, but they don't get seen.
That's true.
Yeah.
Among the nominees was Flea actually, but he was unable to join us tonight. So that's a shame.
What do you
Really great film.
What do you guys think that a film or a show should have to win an editing award? Deserve an editing award or whatever?
And we are not asking this because we are going to give you an award according to your answer.
Specifically the BFE.
Yeah, definitely not asking who do you think you want to win, because we don't ask that question, that's too much. But what would you look for? Like if we're gonna be voting, okay, so what do you think we should be looking for specifically for animation? Because it's not always very clear to people who didn't work in animation, like what is the editing in animation? So what should be the characteristics that you would vote for, basically?
That's a tough one.
That is hard.
Roberta,
can I, everybody?
I think what you should be looking for is generally the film that you respond to emotionally, regardless of whether it's animation or not, and not specifically looking to the editing. I think, you know, we're telling stories in a way that it's in a different medium, but regardless of that, if I was on the committee, I would vote for the film that just, you know, touched me the most emotionally, regardless of the fact that it's animated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In terms of that sort of idea of the emotion within animations, I would sort of say that the particularly the sort of the feature films we're talking about have really managed to capture the emotional sort of journey and truth of teenage and children. So Luca and the Mitchells and these sort of things that I think maybe films can struggle with a little sometimes, and you need really good young actors or child actors like the Buddy character in the Belfast film. Did you think animation lends itself? Is it easier to do that in animation, or is that sort of spurious comparison?
Speechless.
I mean, look, it's tough. You know, I don't even know how to. I mean, I think animation. You know, it's just a form of the medium, right? I mean, the storytelling can be the same, and particularly when it comes to computer animation, because it is really it's basically a virtual version of live action. It has all, you know, the basic cinematic language in common, whereas two-dimensional animation is it's also, you know, visual storytelling, but it does have a level of abstraction in a sense. In other words, you don't just move the camera. You know, someone has to draw a different background and different things, right? But more than that, when it comes to awards, this is a question I've always, having just gone through, you know, having voted for, you know, a number of awards culminating in you know, in Sunday's show. I don't know. Nobody, how are we supposed to evaluate any creative endeavor? These are all great. Everything that's nominated is already pretty great. It's apples and oranges in many cases, right? How do you evaluate best sound, best score? It's a tough one. It's the universal question, but I certainly wouldn't mind a cheat sheet. But I do think that I think Sim said that. I think in lieu of any other specific checklist, I do think if at the very least, if something does move you to tears or laughter, but tears is the hardest one. Then that's got to count for something, right? That's even if you can't put your finger on exactly what it was that did it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree.
It's almost like best edited film is just best film. Like I don't know. When you choose, I can understand liking a better one movie and then saying the music on the other one is better, or I like better the music in the other one, but I still prefer that film or that show. But it's so difficult, to say what was the editing. Unless you some specific kind of editing, like fast editing, or I don't know, whatever. But otherwise, yeah, when I have to vote or just talk with anybody about what's the best edited show, is just a show I liked better, which was most moving. And because I don't exactly know what the editor did that wasn't in a script, because I didn't read a script, and I don't really know. So if it's moving, if it's good, then the editor did something right.
I think that gets to the point of it, Gilad, which is it's I'll like it with what both David said too. Is like it's obviously impossible to quantify what it is that makes one movie better than another, but also you're talking about a craft that wherein the if you've done your job, you've covered up all your tracks, right? There should be no noticeable sign that you were there at all, right? That's the irony of it. It's the painter who ends up with a blank canvas at the end of the day, right? If that helps at all, like if you're engaged through the entire movie, you didn't notice your eye line change often, or the dialogue doesn't bump for you, all those things that the editor smooths over are the not the mark of, but that's the sign that an editor has done his job or her job, right?
Yeah, I was just about to say something along those same lines. Is like it's a very subjective thing to say like, oh, this editing is good or bad, but also a well-edited film, the editing is going to be invisible. You won't see it. Like you won't, you're a casual viewer, you won't see the editing happen unless something is supposed to be flashy. And like there are a number of instances on Invincible where I had to fix a lot of the animation in the edit, but it became invisible. The cuts themselves, the matte lines were supposed to be invisible in Invincible. Yeah, so it's difficult to really nail down what is and what isn't at times. So
I think maybe we can say it's something we feel, because it's more like when we have the good pacing for what we have to tell, and when you are in the movie and sequence and something you feel it's the good story, but you feel it's rush or it's running, or sometimes it could be more too slow, or you think it's not really synchronized, or the pacing is not for the story, or you feel it's not in a good harmony. And I think maybe we can have the feeling of the editing, but it's not something like we can judge like more like a movement of camera or something like that. It's more a feeling of more sensation of something for what we have, because it's correlation between the story and the grammatical cinema, and these junctions totally Invincible finds more feeling for me. I think maybe it's a way to find how we can judge a good editing.
One thing did occur to me, if for any voter who is not experienced with the animation process, but only the live action process, the one thing to keep in mind, I suppose, would be to add to the mix would be the one difference in terms of evaluating would be that elements within the shot, not just the way the shots are, the units are not just the shots, but that the elements within the shots are also in the purview of the editor. So pacing and rhythm, in live action for the most part, you're working with existing your material. Your block of marble that you're carving is the existing shots, and you can do a few things with audio and things like that, and visual effects. But with animation, you're actually even within the shot constructing the pacing, the dialogue.
Yeah, and we play with the voice, the sound design, the music, and all the because but it's easy to if you want to make some nervous sequence with two persons, but it's not play like that. You can overlap and all that stuff. You can do what you want, and you can change the mood for the sequence if you think it's the good mood for the sequence. And you have to find the good pacing. And I think that's if you think you have the good pacing for the sequence, it's the good editing. You tell goods with the maybe for the producer, say with the same acts, less less camera, less shots, and all that stuff. But sometimes it's good to have some constraints, just to try to do better. I don't know if I'm clear. Sorry.
No. Makes perfect sense. Oscar Wilde says something rather lovely about criticism, that basically you reveal your own biases and your own character when you criticize something. And being asked to judge editing in this context, it has to be an emotional thing. It can't be a technical thing. It can't be that could have been 2 frames longer because it would have been more emotionally effective if it was 2 frames longer. And I just feel that everything is based on emotion. And how do we divorce that from the technical? We can't, because it's all mixed up. And, when you get someone who's doing something a really good job and you're moved by it, then that's all we got to go on. Or we can just slap someone in the face and try another way of doing it.
And we do. But it's like that, we find some things new.
In France, they slap the editor when it's not working. But this is very French, It's not. It's just accepted. But
it's great.
Or maybe it's only me. I'm not sure. Nazim, do the directors slap you also? I think it means they like me, but I'm not sure. Probably not, because you're still at work. I'm already home, so. So you're probably the good worker.
I have to finish the end of this week.
Yeah.
Well, by the way, a message from Una, who is on the phone with a terrible Wi-Fi. She just said, great conversation, and please give them all an award. If only we could.
I'm trying to start a new thing for BFE. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can. Quite good.
Oh, good. Yeah, I'd like to start a new thing. Forget these awards shows that only gives one award. Let's just give every editor something. Because, as you said, who knows who did the best job with the worst rushes? The brilliant ideas. So congratulations, guys. All of your work is so beautiful and really inspiring.
Thank you. And Una, yours is fantastic as well, by the way.
Oh,
You're a big fan.
Well, me too. I've been trying desperately to try and bring animation into some of the films that I've been editing. And I was using references from Mitchells versus Machines with the on-screen graffiti to try and put that onto the Netflix film I've just been working on. but no one would listen to me. That's what I'd like. I'd like to see more animation and live action mix. I'd like to see just a more free style of whatever style works, like the way Michael Moore did with Fahrenheit 9/11, that you can just go to animation when the storytelling, blossoms with that style of storytelling, and then go back to live action if needed. I'd love more freedom.
Nice.
Well done, guys. Such beautiful work.
Yeah.
And women. Guys.
Awesome.
Gender neutral.
On that note, I think, shall we wrap it up? Thank you everyone so much for coming and joining us tonight, and congratulations to all our nominees. It's wonderful to hear from you all and see you all your pretty faces. And we look forward to the award ceremony, which will be via Zoom, I think, no, YouTube. A YouTube Live will be going ahead with our award ceremony. So thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you so much.